the kind of starting point that I would like to use for today is a challenge that honestly a lot of people come to me with and probably come to you with as well, which is, hey, like I'm a leader, I'm a manager, I constantly do really good work. I do that work also consistently, and people hear that, see that, but what do I do to really build and manage a leadership brand? Like, is there a difference between doing good work, being reliable and stable, and having a leadership brand? Let's maybe start there.
Yeah. I think the former is what gets you promotions. It's what gets you noticed within the workplace. It's what gets you a raise, perhaps. The latter, building a leadership brand, is what people are saying when you're not in the room. They're what people are saying when they're actively seeking you out for some reason or another. It could be because of a particular area of focus you have, that you excel at a particular challenge, or you just bring a presence to whichever conversation or whichever room you should be in, that somebody else feels that you should also be in that room.
So it's really I love the thing that people say about you when you're not in the room. One piece that I would also like to hear your take on is that my sense over my career has been that the leadership brand becomes increasingly important and becomes increasingly a part of doing good work the more senior you get. Like the more like you move up either as an engineer or as a manager, leader, it doesn't really matter as much, but not just doing a good job, but also being able to talk about it and to make sure that you are known for things becomes a tool in and of itself. And that's where I feel like those kinds of two areas that I think are distinctly described really beautifully, like you did, but those areas kind of coalesce over time. What's been your experience with that?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. One of the things that I've noticed as well over the course of my career is the more you advocate for yourself, the higher likelihood you are to get the opportunities you're seeking. Nobody's going to be advocating for you better than yourself. And that really, really comes to show when you're a leader. As you continue to move up in an organization, you're going to, there's some level where you're just going to naturally become known for the particular challenges that you're solving, regarding like where you exist on a team. But it becomes more important as you want to continue to grow in your career. And I think there's an important piece to this as well, where there are a lot of leaders who are very high performers. There's a reason why we end up in a leadership role in the first place. But there are a lot of folks who are happy with where they're at, and they're not necessarily seeking that next level. There is a terminal level for them. And that is also a perfectly okay thing. So as you're thinking about your brand, one thing that's really, really important to think about is like, what does that mean for you? It's not necessarily like you're going for self-promotion, but it's what is it that I want to, what brings me joy in the work that I do, and how can you kind of tie that to the work that you're doing today and the opportunities that are available to you. I work with folks who are fantastic leaders but have no interest in being managers, but they show up with this level of influence that can't be topped because of the way that they present themselves in the organization. So it's an important way that you can kind of distinguish between, where, like how you want to show up and what you want to get out of your career. And that's going to change over time, of course, and continuing to advocate for yourself in that kind of shape.
Yeah, and there is a beautiful connection in that. Well, if you advocate for certain things or make sure that you promote certain things that you do, you may be able to just get more of those things, and it doesn't have to be a promotion. I think that's a really good call out.
Yeah. Just make sure it's one thing that you actually want to do. Like that's an important distinction there. Sometimes you end up having to, you get pulled into a problem that you really don't enjoy doing, but you happen to be good at it and you solve it the first time very well. You're going to be the first person who is top of mind to do it the next time. You can easily say like, happy to do this time. I really do not enjoy this part of my work, and I would rather not do it anymore. Like that is part of shaping your brand. You can't really opt out of having a brand, but you can control the management of it.
Yeah, or teach other people how to do the things that you're being asked to do.
Yes.
The different avenues. One piece that was mentioned in the chat that I think is a really good point in here and important is that someone said that sadly being reliable kind of in the work that you do tends to come with being invisible. And I think there is unfortunately something to that. Like it's very easy to at least feel like you're being overlooked or even be overlooked if you're consistently performing work. I think there's this, like I come from a work culture where like we're taught in Germany where I grew up, we're taught that, you know, you just do good work, it's going to speak for itself. That is not how most organizations work. Biases are very real, and we all form perceptions, and so does your boss. There is, however, like, so that does mean just being reliable and just doing your job is not a guarantee that other people will notice it. That's the reality we're dealing with. So it does mean even when you're doing your job reliable, it will mean like you may have to do some degree of self-advocacy, and we'll talk about what that can entail in a bit. But maybe you have something that you can add to that point as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it a lot as well. And I come from a background of entrepreneurship too. And, I worked in e-commerce for almost a decade. And a lot of early business owners have that mentality: if you build it, they will come. And it doesn't work that way. And it's the same thing in with your personal brand, with growing. Like I speak with engineers all the time who are, vying for, let's say, a staff engineer role, but they're not putting in the effort to be thought of as an individual who is ready for this particular role. Like there's a lot of self-advocating that has to come with it. And it can feel really icky at times. Like I'm tired of like selling myself and talking about my accomplishments, but there's so much happening in a given day with everybody that most people are not paying attention to everything that you're doing. And so you really have to keep that in the back of your mind when you're like, I'm going to keep talking about myself and the accomplishments that I did. Because if you're just that reliable person, people are going to go to you and pile on more work, but it's not going to necessarily help you get a promotion. It's just going to help stack things on your table. It's not going to make your table any bigger.
Mm-hmm. Or nicer, or the table.
Or nicer, yes.
Great metaphor. Let's start talking about a couple of concrete strategies that people can take. Branding, personal leadership branding, as we've just talked about, can suggest this kind of carefully positioned and a strategically promoted image that you use to kind of sell something. Now, you just mentioned, I think, the word icky. I've also heard that from people a lot, to kind of just find it weird or difficult, or just not something that comes naturally to them. And some people also have really negative perceptions about the idea of leadership brands, personal brands. What do you say to people who see this whole topic in that kind of light?
Yeah, I have been through that phase of needing to feel more comfortable with talking about my accomplishments in general. So I know what it's like for kind of moving out of that. And a lot of folks just, it is a character trait. It's not something that comes naturally to a lot of people. I think what's most important is if you were to ask some people, what do you trust me the most with in the workplace? Like if they can't answer that question, vying or putting aside maybe you're brand new to the organization, so they don't really know you. But if you've been there for a little while and people can't answer that question, or what behaviors show up when things get really hard for all of us, what do you see most out of me? If they can't answer that, that should be an indicator that is something that you need to make more visible. And it's something you can do in your day to day. It doesn't have to be Dear Diary, which is also Slack. I accomplished all these things over the past month and I'm really proud of them. Please clap. Nobody's asking you to do that. But when you're talking with your manager, for example, you could say, hey, I recently met with this individual. We went over this document that I've been working on and I cleaned it up and I'm really proud of it. And I want to make sure this gets the visibility it should get. Who do you think should see this? Who should I share this with? Where should I share this? And you ask your manager to kind of help guide you through that. You don't have to be, going down this path individually and trying to figure out how to sell yourself alone. Involve those who are around you to kind of help promote the work that you're doing as well.
how do I begin building a leadership brand kind of from the ground floor?
Yeah, yeah. I kind of alluded to this earlier, but like start with 3 questions for yourself. Like, what problems do people already trust me with? What behaviors show up when things are getting particularly hard? And what do I want to be known for in 2 years? This gives you some time to, figure out nothing's going to happen, nothing's going to change overnight, but you can start to kind of build the behaviors and show the behaviors to others over the course of 2 years. And you can obviously do it a whole lot faster than that, but we like looking long term when it comes to personal growth. So start by involving others in the process. Ask 3 other people how they would describe your leadership style. Does the way they describe it match with your goal for who you want to be known for in 2 years? If not, that discrepancy is where you should really be focusing on over the course of the next 2 years or whatever time frame. But pick one particular behavior that you really want to be like predictably excellent at. Whether that is you're a really strong communicator and you're really good at bridging people together and like being that connector. Or maybe you're really good at solving gnarly problems, like really complex issues that other people have a hard time kind of like disambiguating. These are the types of things where you can decide where you want to focus on. My strengths are people and process. I have a background as a trained therapist, so naturally people comes from that side, but I love process. Not for process sake, but I will be the one who identifies like a gap in the current workflow of we can be a lot more efficient if we change this one thing. And so that's what I end up becoming known for over time is, hey, we're having a hard time. We're seeing a drop in completion rates for this particular project. What is breaking down? And I'm able to then spend my time focusing on that. So don't try to boil the ocean. You're not also like coming out and being like, I am building a brand, because this is something that just naturally happens over time. But you can be more intentional about setting goals for yourself of where you want to be and what that actually looks like in the day-to-day, and how you can kind of change your workflow or seek out opportunities to kind of build those skills as well.